ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We'll begin with our class. So we stopped at 18.6 last time, and this is a synopsis of last class. That sannyas and renunciation, what is the difference? Sannyas and tyaga, what is the difference? Arjun asked this in 18.1, and Krishna mentioned sannyas is to renounce kamya karma, that actions performed for personal enjoyment, and continuing with nitya karma. Nitya karma means our duties. And renunciation means to renounce fruits or expectation of fruits of both kamya karma and nitya karma. Anybody remembers any other points that we discussed last time, last class? You can unmute and speak.
Ambitious for Krishna.
Yes, so we have to be ambitious for Krishna. Thank you. Any other points? What was Krishna's opinion about certain things? He mentioned, I want to tell you my opinion. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up.
Yes.
They must be performed.
Yes, very nice, very important point. So he mentioned this, that some people feel it should be not done, some people feel it should be done, but Lord Krishna gave his own opinion, which is the final opinion. That is actually not an opinion, that is judgment. So Lord Krishna's opinion is sacrifice, charity, and penance are never to be given up. In all situations, we should always be ready for some sacrifice, we should ready be for some charity, and we should be ready for some tapasya. And then we mentioned how if principles of renunciation, what is renunciation? What exactly is renunciation? If it is not understood properly and if it is not explained properly, then it can result in a loss of ambition in a person. And this loss of ambition, if not handled properly at the right time, with the right intervention, can result in actually a feeling of apathy. Would anybody like to tell me in their own words what exactly is apathy?
जो हो रहा है होने दो.
Apathy means disinterest. Yes. So we generally know this word empathy. Empathy means you feel for somebody. So exactly, corresponding to this word empathy is total loss of empathy. No, nothing to do with anybody. जो हो रहा है चलने दो, जो होगा वो भी सही है, जो नहीं होगा वो भी सही है. Basically, I am not interested in anything at all. So imagine somebody who's ambitious, but when he hears the Bhagavad Gita, and then he becomes apathetic, not sympathetic, but apathetic. So sometimes you can go to one extreme or you can go to another extreme. And then we discussed how there's a good example of externally super ambitious, but internally totally detached. This is Hanumanji before and after meeting Sita Devi in Lanka. So we'll go ahead from there. 18.7, this is again, the same discussion is going on, the renunciation. What exactly is renunciation? In 18.4, Krishna mentioned that renunciation is also of three types, but he did not speak of those three types that time. But in 18.7 is mentioning this. So this is renunciation in ignorance. Niyatasya tu sannyasah karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityagah tamasah parikirtitah. Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Can anybody give me an example of this? Renunciation in the mode of ignorance?
A parent not taking care of the child.
Yes, this can be, but very simple. First chapter of the Bhagavad Gita itself. Arjun was totally in illusion. He does not understand only what is happening. And before consulting anybody, before talking to anybody, he said, now I am not ready to fight. So this is illusion. When we give up something in knowledge, then it can be understood that it's a good decision. Without asking, without checking, you yourself are coming to some conclusion, then what can be done? So that is renunciation in the mode of illusion. 18.8 Dukkhamityaiva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajit sakritva rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga phalam labhet. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. Any example of this? So, the
Krishna
five,
Prabhuji, can I say that?
yeah, of course.
If soldier on fear of getting wounded, not taking part in war.
Yes. Very nice example given by Pramod Prabhu. Anybody else? Okay, Abha Mataji, you have unmuted yourself. I thought maybe you want to speak something.
No, sorry,
Oh.
Prabhuji, but I was thinking of
Oh.
a student.
Sure.
Student, if he has to study, but because of the discomfort, he has to get up early and
Sure.
sacrifice his other enjoyment things.
Sure,
He doesn't
perfect
want to
example. Perfect
study.
example. Yes. Also, the example that I can mention is the 5 Pandavas and Draupadi. They are in the 13th year and they are living incognito. And in this situation, Arjun is in the role of Brihanalla. He's a dance teacher. And at that time, Kichak is killed by Bhim. So the the Kauravas, they understand that it can only be Bhim who can kill Kichak. And so they attack Virat Desh. They take away all the cows. And this news comes to the king. And the king says, I'll not tolerate this. And the son of the king, his name is Uttar Kumar, he is brother of Uttara. He says, I will go and fight. And Kanka, Yudhishthir, he says, don't go alone. They are all mighty people. You should take Brihanalla with you. So he says, what this Brihanalla will do? His third gender. But he said, you don't worry about that. This is my advice to you, take Brihanalla. And Brihanalla is the charioteer. And Uttar Kumar is the main person. And he goes there with a brave heart. And when he reaches the battlefield, then he sees Bhishma, he sees Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Ashwathama, Karna, Duryodhan, Dushasan, Shakuni. All these big warriors are in opposite him, facing him. And what happens to Uttar Kumar? Anybody would like to speak?
He gets scared.
He gets down and starts running from there. So he understands it's my duty to fight, but it's troublesome and it's fear of bodily discomfort. He immediately renounces. Arey, mujhe kuch lena dena nahi hai, main to chala. So that is renunciation in the mode of passion. Okay. So, yeah. So such action, Krishna is saying, never leads to the elevation of renunciation. This is basically selfishness in the guise of renunciation. Okay. Sometimes the reason for renunciation of kamya karma is not a genuine pull to perform nitya karma without expectation of fruits, but to escape the difficulties that sometimes one has to face even while performing kamya karma. So kamya karma means enjoyment karma. I want to enjoy food, I want to enjoy this, I want to enjoy, that is kamya karma. And nitya karma means whatever is our kartavya. So sometimes we see people give up kamya karma also. People will say, अरे मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए, मुझे किसी से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, मुझे ये भी नहीं करना है. अरे ये तो आपको बहुत पसंद आता था. Till yesterday you were so fond of this and you used to like this. Today you are not interested in that also. Yeah. I don't like anything from today onwards. Even what I like, I don't like. I'm not going to do. And then somebody will say, अरे ये तो बहुत ही विरक्त हो गया, ये तो सन्यासी हो गया, ये तो अभी इसको कुछ भी नहीं करना है. But many times the reason for such renunciation is not that he has suddenly become very wise, is not that suddenly this person has become very aware of his responsibilities and he's saying, no, I was being selfish till now and now I will give up my selfish. It has nothing to do with all that. Basically, he understood even to enjoy your senses, you have to work for it. Even enjoyment of the senses does not happen automatically. So after some time, even those who are busy in enjoying their senses, they also, because they are so lazy or they are so selfish that they don't want to undergo any difficulty, so then they give up that kamya karma, they give up that selfish activities, and then people feel, oh, he was so selfish and he gave up his selfish activities, maybe he's renounced. He's not renounced, he's lazy, or he has done renunciation in the mode of passion. Such renunciation thus becomes an oxymoron. Anybody here who understands this word oxymoron? Anybody would like?
Heard it, but I can't explain what it
Okay,
means.
okay.
Prabhuji,
So,
two opposite
yeah.
words kept together in a sentence.
Yeah. So when you keep two words next to each other, just like if I say, this is a dry water tank. So now you will say, if it's a water tank, how can it be dry? And if it is dry, then you just say it's an empty dry tank. If it has water, how it can be dry? So sometimes, we speak words unknowingly, which are basically mutually contradictory. We say, do you want some more sweet? And then you say, a little more. So, do you want a little sweet or do you want more sweet? But you say a little more. So little and more are contradictory to each other. So in this way, in common English, we do use a lot of oxymorons. So when I'm calling this concept as an oxymoron, can anybody tell me why am I calling it an oxymoron?
Prabhuji, because on the surface it seems like they are giving up, renouncing, but that's not the true spirit.
Yeah, perfect. Actually, it seems that he's renouncing, but it is out of pure selfishness. मुझे मेहनत नहीं करनी है, मुझे तकलीफ नहीं चाहिए, मुझे पसीना नहीं बहाना है, मुझे बैठे बैठे मेरे मुंह में सब कुछ चाहिए और वो मेहनत करना पड़ेगा, तो मुझे ये भी नहीं चाहिए. So people feel, he's renounced. He's not renounced. He's pure selfish. एक बूंद पसीना नहीं बहाऊंगा मैं, मेरे मुंह में आना चाहिए सब कुछ. So that's why it's a oxymoron. Now we'll come to renunciation in the mode of goodness. कार्यमित्यैव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियते अर्जुन संगम त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव स त्यागः सात्विको मतः. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done. Why should I do my duty? Because my mother likes it? No. Why should I do my duty? Because my father will be happy? No. Why should I do my duty? Because my wife will be happy? No. Why should I do my duty? Because my children will praise me? No. Why should I do my duty? Because Krishna will glorify me? No. I should do my duty only because it is supposed to be done. It is ought to be done. And renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit of that duty. His renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. Yes. So this is very nice. I remember, I think this is 2.38. But 2.38, Krishna mentions, Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Can anybody check out 2.38?
Yes, Prabhuji. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Okay, so in that, this word is tato yuddhaya yujjasva. So that tato yuddhaya yujjasva, can you read the word to word translation?
Yes. So the words are just the English translation.
No, English translation.
Okay.
Tato yuddhaya yujjasva.
Tatha is thereafter. Yudhaya is for the sake of fighting, and Yujyasva is engage or fight.
So it's very interesting. Krishna is saying tato yuddhaya yujjasva means thereafter engage in fighting for the sake of fighting. Because in the first chapter, Arjun mentioned, you know what? Nacha shreyo anupashyami hatva swajanam ahave na kankshe vijayam Krishna nacha rajyam sukhanicha. This is 1.31. So in 1.31, Arjun said, well, you know what? I don't see any good benefit coming out of this war. Na kankshe vijayam Krishna. I don't want vijay. I don't want victory. Nacha rajyam. I don't want this land. I don't want a kingdom. Sukhanicha. I don't want even happiness. So Arjun was saying, see, ek minute. Why should we fight this war? We fight this war for victory. I don't want it. We fight a victory for winning land or kingdom. I don't want kingdom. And generally people fight a war and want to win the war for happiness. I don't want that. So अगर मुझे विजय नहीं चाहिए, मुझे राज्य नहीं चाहिए, मुझे सुख नहीं चाहिए, तो मेरे को लड़ना भी नहीं है. Why should I fight? And this 1.31 is completely rejected in 2.38, where Krishna says, सुख के लिए लड़ना है. You know what is my opinion? सुखे दुखे समे कृत्वा. Don't make sukha and dukkha separate. You make it one only. And then our Arjun said, Nacha Rajyam. So he says, Labha alabha. So profit and loss, you make it one. And then Arjun said, victory, na kankshe vijayam Krishna. And then Krishna said here, Jaya Jayau. So he says, those 3 points that you mentioned, you don't want to fight the war for this. Who said these points are the real points for fighting a war? This is your assumption. I never mentioned to you, hey Arjun, please fight this war for winning the war. Please fight this war for winning a kingdom. Please fight this war for becoming a happy person. No. He says, this is not the real reason for fighting war. Tato yuddhaya yujjasva. Please engage in fighting for the sake of fighting. This is the minimum standard that is spoken in 2.38, second chapter back there. 16 chapters before Krishna has spoken. And now Krishna is speaking. This is called proper renunciation. The proper renunciation is, I should do my duties because it ought to be done. Whether somebody notices it, whether somebody glorifies me, whether somebody praises me, somebody rewards me, does not matter at all. Just hold on. So, and he also says, when you're doing your prescribed duties, do not be attached to the fruits. Only when you do this, then the renunciation is to be in the mode of goodness. Now, my dear audience, all of you are very intelligent and all of you are very attentive. I'm going to ask you something very simple. It's not a very complicated question. There is something fundamentally different between category 1 and category 2. In category 1, there is renunciation in the mode of ignorance and renunciation in the mode of passion. There is something common about both of them. And there is something about renunciation in the mode of goodness. And there are two different things. Can you tell me what could be the difference essentially between the renunciation in the mode of ignorance and passion renunciation in the mode of goodness? Just something quick. It's not a very complicated thing. Yes, please unmute and speak. You don't have to raise your hand.
Prabhuji, selfishness and selflessness.
Great, nice. What else?
Consciousness, Prabhuji.
Yes, that's also important. What else?
Duty and desire.
Very good. Very nice. Amazing. Yes. What else? Okay.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
in the mode of ignorance and passion, the cause for the duty was self, how I'm feeling, whether I like it or not. But in Mode of goodness, it is the cause for the action is responsibility that it has to be done.
Yes, so somebody did speak duty and desire. Yes, so something from my side is, in the mode of ignorance and mode of passion, the renunciation was of action. तो क्या त्याग रहे थे लोग? What were people giving up? They were not giving up anything else other than the activity. And in the renunciation, in the mode of goodness, Krishna is telling not to renounce the activity. He is telling us to renounce the attachment to the results of that activity. So if you check out renunciation in ignorance, this person will not act. And in renunciation mode of passion, he will not act out of fear of bodily discomfort. तो जो आलसी है, जो निष्क्रिय है, जो एक्टिव नहीं है, his renunciation can never be the right renunciation. If you want to meet somebody genuinely renounced, you have to meet somebody who is super active. He's super active outside, but internally he's super renounced. But if you meet somebody who does not walk a step, somebody who does not move out of his chair, and if somebody is calling that person a renounced person, he is fooling himself and is trying to fool you. Somebody who's inactive is not renounced. Somebody who's inactive is basically selfishly lazy or selfishly protective about his comfort. This was something very important for us to understand. So when we increase our renunciation, please do not become lazy. When we increase our renunciation as per the Bhagavad Gita, please do not become inactive, become very active. What you have to give up is there on the screen. All attachment to the fruit. Okay. So then what is there to renounce? आपने तो बोल दिया ये नहीं करना है, वो नहीं करना है. So what exactly is there to renounce? So let us hear from Krishna. न द्वेष्ट्य कुशलम कर्म कुशलेन अनुषज्यते त्यागी सत्व समाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः. The intelligent renouncer situated, which renouncer? Intelligent renouncer. He is not a foolish renouncer. Intelligent renouncer situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. He does not hate inauspiciousness. If he has been told this is your duty, you have to do it. And neither he is attached to auspicious work. मैं तो केवल यही करूंगा. He is not like that. He has no doubts. He will do whatever is his duty. So we cannot renounce our duties, but we can renounce the laziness which is born out of the mode of ignorance, or selfish interest of self-comfort in our heart. That is renunciation, the mode of passion for performing our duty. So what can we renounce? We can renounce our laziness or selfishness. We cannot renounce our duties, but we can renounce advice that some people give to us, that advise us to not perform our duties. So we want to be followers of the Bhagavad Gita. And if you really want to be a follower of Bhagavad Gita, if you really want to please Krishna, then please renounce advice that tells you to give up your duties, because how can duties ever be harmful? Especially duties given to us by saintly people, especially duties that are given to us by Lord Krishna, especially duties that are given to us by Shastra. So Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, whatever they give to us as our prescribed duties, how can they ever be harmful to us? They will always purify us, but purification is a difficult task for most people, and that's why we shun our duties and we run from sadhus and we disobey our spiritual master. Otherwise, if we really understand the Bhagavad Gita, then we would like to stick to our duties. Okay, anybody would like to ask or add to these points that are there on the screen? This is an important point.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Can you please explain this? What you have
Second
said
point or
right
first
now?
point?
Second.
Yeah, second point was, अगर हमको कोई मार्गदर्शन कर रहे हैं and they say don't do your duty, forget your duty, then we should renounce that advice. वो जो मार्गदर्शन है हमको बता रहे हैं, कि आप आपके कर्तव्य पालन नहीं करेंगे तो भी चलेगा, तो आपको अगर कुछ त्याग करना है तो मार्गदर्शन का त्याग कीजिए, बट अपने कर्तव्यों का त्याग मत कीजिए. People who are interested in fast results sometimes can advise you to give up your duties, but people who are situated in the Gita, they will never ask you to give up your duties. Yes, because duties is what makes us rooted in this concept that I'm not supposed to do everything for myself. I'm not supposed to take every decision in my life for myself. Some part of my life is for pleasing others. Some part of my life is for helping others. Some part of my life is for serving others. When I grew up, did I grow up on myself? Or did some people contribute to me? Did my teacher contribute to me? Did my parents contribute to me? Did my friends contribute to me? Did the Bhagavad Gita contribute to me? So what is my reciprocation to all the help that I have received from so many people? How can I be selfish? When I grew up, I accepted everything from everyone. And now when I'm grown up, when I'm intelligent, and now I'm smart, now I'm successful, now I'm wealthy, then I say, अरे ये तो मेरे खून पसीने की कमाई है. Who gave you that खून and who gave you the pasina? So sometimes I have seen, we are intelligent because of the advice that we have received, because of the guidance we have received, because of the shelter that we have received, because of the support and the encouragement and the motivation that we received at critical times in our life. All of us have faced difficulties in our life. And when we were all alone, when we were in need of support, somebody gave us support. And then we became intelligent, we become smart, and then we become successful. But when we become successful, we do not want to reciprocate with those who helped us. We do not want to help those who helped us. So the person who gave us intelligence, we lose our intelligence and fail to reciprocate with that person. And that is where we become selfish, and this selfishness slowly reaches its peak in atheism. What is atheism? Atheism is, I don't believe in God. I don't accept the hand that feeds me. I will not accept the hand that feeds me. I'm being fed every day. I'm being fed, but I won't accept the hand that feeds me. That is atheism. That is the highest form of selfishness. So it's only a question of different grades of selfishness. When we are not grateful to people around us, how can we be grateful to the person who is invisibly feeding us? There are people in our lives for whom we should be grateful, and we don't acknowledge them. How can we ever become grateful for the person who does not even come to us and say, I am your person, I am the person who's feeding you? That was the point there. So we'll go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, yeah, thank you. So a question can come in our minds: can't I escape this entire stress distinguishing between selfish work and dutiful work by becoming inactive? मुझे work ही नहीं करना है, तो ना मैं selfish रहूंगा, ना मैं non-selfish रहूंगा, मुझे कुछ भी नहीं करना है. Can't we do this? 18.11. Impossible to renounce action. नहीं देह भृता शक्यम त्यक्तुम कर्माण्य शेषतः यस्तु कर्म फल त्यागी स त्यागी त्यभिधीयते. It is indeed, Krishna is saying, it is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. So please remember this shloka, write it down somewhere in your notebooks. Who is renounced? Not the person who sleeps, not the person who does not talk, not the person who does not work, not the person who is not dutiful. He is a person who talks a lot, but he talks for others' benefit. Here is a person who travels a lot, but he travels for others' benefit. Here is a person who does so many things at so many levels, but he is not attached to the fruits of his action. In that sense, such a person is dependent on God. He says, I'm doing my duty. It is up to God to give me or not. I'll plant the seeds, but whether those seeds sprout or not, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what happens, but at least I'll do my part. That's the person that Krishna is talking about. So would anybody like to compare this with 3.5? This feeling of it is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities.
Nahi kaschit shanamapi.
Yeah, so what is the translation?
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
So there Krishna spoke about not even for a moment. And here Krishna said it is indeed impossible. So right from second chapter to third chapter, Krishna has always given to us essential principles. I mentioned last time that 18th chapter is more like a summary, is more like a summarization of what he spoke. And that's why we'll see how certain points he spoke in second chapter and third chapter are again coming up in 18th chapter. Here is an expert teacher summarizing his talk at the end. So question, can a true spiritualist ever become lazy and complacent? Question to all of you.
No, Prabhuji. No, Prabhuji.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
And now the second question, if someone is chronically lazy, but he claims to be spiritualist, can he be called a spiritualist?
No, Prabhu.
No, no, Prabhuji.
No,
At
Prabhu.
least, so
Pseudo
at least,
spiritualist.
so at least on the basis of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we can't force people to accept our opinion, but we should point out 18.11 Krishna says it is impossible to renounce action. So on the authority of Lord Krishna's words, on the authority of the Bhagavad Gita, anybody who is a lazy person and is giving big sermons, is giving big lectures that this is renunciation and this is spirituality, he is basically making asses of people. But intelligent people, they read Lord Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita. 18.12 effects of not renouncing and effects of renouncing. Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividham karmana phalam bhavatyatyagi pretya natu sanyasinam kvachit. For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. What does this mean? Desirable means sometimes this person will go to heaven. Undesirable means sometimes because he does some nonsense for selfishness, he will also go to hell. And mixed means neither heaven nor hell. He will be reborn as a human being on the earthly planets where we are staying right now. So if you are not renounced, depending on whether you are doing pious activity, impious activity, or a mix, anishtam, ishtam, mishram, you will get your birth. But bhavati tyaginam, but those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. So those who are genuinely renounced in the heart, they don't go to heaven and they don't go to hell and they are not reborn as a human being on earth planets. So Prabhuji, then what happens to them? What happens to these people who are genuinely renounced? Where do they go? They go to the spiritual world because they are following Krishna's orders. They are lovers of Krishna. They go to Krishna's planet. So this is Krishna's assurance to us. If you lead a genuine duty-based life, always renounce from the desire to enjoy selfishly, let me tell you, what we are talking here is not a final conclusion. It is a process. Yes. So those who are fully renounced, they have achieved the destination. But those of us who are reading this, those of us who are learning the Bhagavad Gita, for us, it's a process. It means tomorrow you can meditate on this, that from morning to evening, I do so many things, I take so many decisions. Let me do one decision in my tomorrow's schedule in such a way that it is basically only out of a sense of duty. It has nothing to do with my profit, and also it has nothing to do with my loss. I won't do it to please somebody. I won't do it purposefully to displease somebody. Then why will I do it? I will do it because it is my duty. Ye mera kartavya hai. Tomorrow, in your busy days, my dear friends, please dedicate one of your actions that, is this my duty? I will do it because it is my duty. That would be really very nice. That would really please the Lord in your own hearts. Now we come to another section. This is 5 components of every action. 18.13. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhye kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. O mighty armed Arjun, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. Would all of you like to learn from Krishna?
Yes, yes.
Great.
Yes,
So let's go to
Yes,
18.14. Yes. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta taivam chaivatra panchamam. So I have done color coding. Adhishthan means the place of action. Karta means performer. Karanam means instruments or senses. Cheshta. This is not Marathi cheshta. Marathi cheshta means humor. But in Sanskrit, cheshta means Marathi prayatna. The many different kinds of endeavor, cheshta. And daivam chaivatra panchamam. Daiva. Daivat काय लिहिलेले आहे? Sanskrit word daiva also matches with Marathi word daiva. Super soul, the Paramatma. So Krishna is saying these are the 5 factors of action. Out of that, this daiva is very important. We'll go ahead. So I have tried to explain with the help of some examples. What are these factors that Krishna spoke? Place, doer, instruments, endeavor, and the super soul. So for any medical surgery to take place, what is the first thing that is necessary? First thing is, do you have a proper OT? So any one of us who is a doctor or medical profession, they know when they set up their practice, first they think, do I have a facility of an OT? Because OT नहीं है, तो OPD के टेबल पे सर्जरी नहीं कर सकते. So OT is first important. So Krishna says adhishthan. Then the next important person after an OT is a qualified surgeon, karta. So OT is there and surgeon is there. Now you need proper autoclaved antiseptic instruments. Karanam is there. Okay, OT is there, the surgeon is there, the instruments are there, but he has a big fight with his wife that day and he's saying, you know what, I am not in a mood to perform any surgery today. So what will happen? Nothing. It cannot happen. So he has to have enthusiasm and he has to have tolerance, because sometimes some surgeries take 3 or 4 hours standing and you have to bend down to cut the body. So you are bending down, there is a lot of foul smell that is coming from inside the body of the person. You are standing and it's like a very painful thing. And then after doing everything, finally there is no guarantee that everything will work out. Sometimes you do a surgery and there is a septic. There is a surgery and there is a complication. There is surgery and there are some, side effects of that surgery. So finally you need to pray to the Supreme Lord and say, the doctor says, I treat, he cures. I do the treatment, but treatment does not necessarily mean curing of the disease. Or let's say a general example, cricket match. First thing that is important is a good ground. So some people may say, प्रभु जी स्टेडियम ग्राउंड पे कौन खेलते हैं? 4 लोग खेलते हैं. हम लोग तो अपने गली में खेलते हैं. आप आपके गली में खेलते हैं, लेकिन the minimum is it should be a plain ground. It cannot be up and down like this. You cannot play cricket on an uneven ground. So first thing is you need a proper plain ground. The pitch on which the ball will be thrown has to be a very smooth ground. So that much is the necessity. Then you need players. Then you need a good bat. Then you need a good ball. Then you need good gloves. Then you need good, the pads that are there. The batsmen, they put on pads, otherwise that ball sometimes can hit. So that has to be there. Again, the same thing. You have a good ground, you have good players, and you have a good bat and ball, but you don't have enthusiasm and stamina to play. Who will play? There's a very nice anecdote, or it's not an anecdote, it's a story, that one time there was a very quiet, nice colony. And in that colony, one day, some 10-12 kids, they got up and they started playing cricket. And then because of the playing of the cricket, one of those people in that colony, he got disturbed, because he was thinking for years and years, this colony was a very nice place, silent place, not much noise. And now these kids start shouting, hey, and like that. So he wanted to stop this place. So you know what he did? One day he went to those boys after they were playing and they said, wow, so nice. I'm just so happy that you're playing so enthusiastically. here is 5 rupees coin for all of you. And they became very happy. Next day, he went to them. I said, you know what? I've been observing you play, and you all are so nice players. Now I'm going to give every single person of you 10 rupees each. I'm really amazed. And he gave 10 rupees each. In this way, 2-3 more days, he rewarded them. And they were really so happy that somebody is taking note of their hard work. And then one day, he came and sat there. He watched the whole match, but he did not pay a single rupee. Instead, he got up and he just turned his back and went to his home. That day, all these people, they thought, अरे हम लोग इतना अच्छा खेलते थे, and this person would reward us after every match. And today he was there, he was present, he saw the whole match, and we were playing with extra enthusiasm because we wanted the reward to increase. But today this person did not reward. Maybe we did not play properly. He said, no problem. Tomorrow we'll just check out. Tomorrow again, this man came and saw the whole match, but this day also he did not reward them a single rupee. He just turned and went back to his home. That day they had a meeting and they said, maybe, we are not playing properly because this person is not rewarding us. So if we are not playing properly, what is the use of playing? And third day, there was no cricket there. So this man, such a cruel-hearted man, actually he should have encouraged his kids to play. But you know what he did? He rewarded them, and he sounded and he looked like a very nice gentleman that is rewarding these kids. Actually, he was putting a price for their enthusiasm. He was putting a price for their eagerness to play, that energy. And as soon as he put a price on that play, he put a price on that enthusiasm. When he did not pay the price, they lost it. So many times in our lives also, we have a good place, we are skilled, we have very good instruments, but we don't have any enthusiasm in the heart. And just because we don't have enthusiasm in the heart, we stop playing. So my dear friends, in our lives, sometimes God has given us a very nice place. God has given us good teachers and they have made us skilled. God has given us enough money that we can have the necessary instruments. But somehow, we become so selfish and we put a price on everything in our life that somebody does not appreciate us, somebody does not glorify us, somebody does not praise us when we are expecting it. And even if God has given us everything that He could, we lose enthusiasm in life. And sometimes I have seen young people, speaking all these words, Abhi mujhe kuch nahi karna hai, main thak gaya. What is your age? Your age is hardly 21, 22, and you are talking about main thak gaya. Even if a person at the age of 60, 70 talks like this, it's not proper. Why? It is just basically a lack of awareness of how much God has given to us. And only when we have a lack of awareness of what God has given to us, that is the only time when we talk of all this language, मुझे कुछ करना नहीं है, मुझे ये नहीं करना है, मुझे वो नहीं करना. So please, don't do this. And definitely the last line is very important, the Paramatma. So a good player, he says, I play, but actually it is because of the Supreme Lord that we score something. I can just flick my bat and I can play. But sometimes the fielder, the person near the boundary, he can catch my ball and I can be out. So I just have a control on how hard I hit the ball. But I don't have control on the player who's there near the boundary who will catch the ball. So if the Supreme Lord is with me, then this person, although he's near the boundary and he has his eyes on the ball, but he's not able to catch the ball, or even if he catches the ball, he goes on the other side of the boundary and I get a score of 6 instead of a 4. So humble people, they say, I treat, he cures. Humble people, they say, I play, he scores. These are the 5 factors that are mentioned by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So the general understanding, if somebody tells us there are 5 factors, Krishna has mentioned 5 factors, then we will say 5 factors means each factor is 20%. But no. 5 factors means each factor is 20%, but the proper understanding is actually the first 4 factors are only 1%, and the 5th factor is 99%. The super soul factor is 99%. Are all the 5 fingers equal? No. Actually, the thumb is one of the 5 fingers, but the 5th finger, the thumb, is very special. Without the thumb, you cannot write. Without the thumb, you cannot shoot an arrow. Without the thumb, you cannot draw. It's extremely difficult if you do it. So definitely the 4 fingers, they are quite equal to each other, but the thumb is not equal to each other, although they are all 5 fingers of the same hand. Similarly, my dear friends, Adhishthan, Karta, Karana, and Cheshta, these are the first 4 factors, and they constitute 1%. But even after you do everything, if there is no sanction from the Supreme Lord, if there is no permission from the Supreme Lord, then everything falls flat on the face. So that's why it's very important to understand the role of the Supreme Lord in our lives. It is only ungrateful people who say, there is no Lord, there is no God, nobody gave anything to me, I have earned it all myself. No, that's not proper. According to 18.14, these are the 5 factors of action. These Krishna's words, they cannot be false. Okay. So now, all this talk of detachment, now it makes sense. Because detachment does not make sense to people who think they are the doers. Detachment does not make any sense to people who think that they are the ones who are working hard. And why is Krishna speaking about detachment? अरे बंद करो ये detachment का drama. मैं मेहनत कर रहा हूँ, आप मेहनत कर रहे हैं, but आप सब मेहनत करने के बाद में whatever is happening in your life is not controlled by you. It is something that is given to you. Your adhikar is only on your efforts. So I'm going to ask you a question. Sachin Tendulkar is one of the greatest batsmen. Yes. Does it mean that nobody else other than Sachin Tendulkar could play equally to Sachin Tendulkar? When he was practicing on Oval Maidan, when he was practicing near Churchgate, when he was practicing in those big grounds, and there are hundreds and so many kids, morning and evening, they are undergoing cricket training there. So does it mean that for the last 20 years, there is only one boy who is talented and who really played quality cricket? Actually, so many boys are working hard, so many boys have talent also, but one of them clicks. At the right time, at the right moment, he clicked. Yes. Sometimes in an interview, when you go to an interview, there are 10 people who go to that interview, and you can look at the resume, and there is somebody who's very intelligent and he has an unbroken track record. But when he goes to the interview, in those 5 minutes, it all matters how do you perform in those 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, if something is uncomfortable, something is wrong, even though he has been an intelligent person throughout his life, he has been a hardworking person throughout his life, but in those 5 minutes, it does not click. So when it does not click in those 5 minutes, then gone. And somebody who may not be intelligent, but in that 5 minutes of interview, he speaks the right words which click with the interviewer. The interviewer was looking for some specific word and that person speaks it. It clicks. So the real cause of everything that is happening in our life is definitely our efforts. And that's why we should be dutiful, we should be active, but we should never ever forget that if the Supreme Lord would not reciprocate with our hard work, with our dedication, we would not be successful in life. And so when Krishna is talking about detachment, Krishna is not talking about detachment of action. Whenever Krishna has talked about detachment, Krishna has talked about detachment from the fruits of those actions. So 2.47, very famous shloka. Karmani eva adhikaraste. Karmani, you have adhikar only on your karma actions. Ma phaleshu kadachana. फल के ऊपर आपका अधिकार नहीं है. क्यों? क्योंकि फल आप देते ही नहीं है, फल तो मैं देता हूँ, फल तो भगवान देते हैं. So if you understand 2.47, if you understand 18.14, then detachment will make sense. Otherwise, detachment is so illogical. If everything I am doing, then why detachment? But then when you understand this, then you understand. So the biggest doctors have made the most foolish errors in their surgeries. The most expert batsmen have done the most foolish mistakes in the most critical matches. The most expert boxers have done the most unpredictable mistakes in one of the most important matches. Yes. And that's why then we understand that actually not much depends on me except my desire to do something, my readiness to do something. But everything else, is not in my control. Can't avoid these 5 components. 18.15. Sharira vang manobhiryat karma prarabhate naraha nyayam va viparitam va panchaite tasya hetavaha. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Whatever right or wrong. Somebody says right, somebody says wrong. But even for doing wrong actions, there has to be a sanction from the super soul. गलत काम करने के लिए भी उसकी परमिशन लगती है. 18.16 intelligent can understand these. तत्रैवं सति कर्तारम् आत्मनं केवलं तु यः पश्यति अकृत बुद्धित्वान् न स पश्यति दुर्मतिः. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. So why have I highlighted this word kevalam and the word only in red? Can anybody unmute and tell me?
That person would be an atheist, Prabhuji.
Okay, I'll explain what this means. Anybody else? One last chance.
There are many aspects of doing.
Yeah. So Krishna is saying, you are the doer. Those 4 factors, they depended on you. I accept it. And especially your enthusiasm, your desire, your willingness, your readiness to do. It is definitely one of the most important. But केवल और केवल मेरे वजह से सब कुछ होता है. Only because of me, only doer. So that's why I've highlighted the word only. When we say, a devotee says, success depends on 2 things: my hard work and Krishna's awarding me the results of my hard work. So there are people in this world who say, अरे भगवान वगैरह कुछ नहीं है, it only depends on me. So that is that kevalam that is mentioned on the screen. Only me, only me, only me. Such people are foolish. And as one of our participants mentioned, they are atheists. But there's another people, and they are also very religious. And you know what they say? They say, सब कुछ भगवान के ऊपर है, सब कुछ भगवान के ऊपर है. तो अभी कुछ आप कुछ करेंगे कि नहीं? सब कुछ भगवान के ऊपर है. Somebody is dying. Should we take the dying person to the hospital? If you ask this second category of the person, very religious, a strong believer in God, he has pictures of God all over his home. Say, अरे इनको लेना चाहिए कि नहीं हॉस्पिटल? जो भी होगा भगवान देख लेंगे, हम तो क्या हैं, हम तो कुछ भी नहीं हैं. And in this way the patient dies. So what is the real understanding? The real understanding is, you go to a proper adhishthan. You should take the dying person to a proper place called a hospital. You should get the best doctor to treat him, karta. You should make sure that the doctor is a proper skilled person. He knows all the instruments. So he's karanam, and that day he's really, eager to fight the disease and to rescue the dying person from the jaws of death. So there is cheshta. But even after arranging the best hospital, even after arranging the best doctor, even after seeing that he has all the instruments and he's really struggling, you should always offer a prayer to Krishna saying, my dear Lord, out of 5 factors, 4 factors I have done, but the 5th factor is you. Please save this person. When a person has maturity, he understands both sides of the coin. If I don't do my duty, if I don't do my part, how will God get a reason to reciprocate? So those who believe only in themselves, they are called karmavadi. Karmavadi. And those who believe only in God, they are called daivavadi. They सब कुछ भगवान करेंगे. And what is the Bhagavad Gita teaching us? What is God, Lord Krishna teaching us himself? He says no. It's not karmavad, it's not daivavad. Actual life is a combination of both. You do your part, and then God will do his part. God will not do his part if you don't do your part. And just by doing your part and not allowing God to do his part, you won't get success. One person, very lazy, he would pray to God, oh my dear Lord, please, please, please get me success in this business. But that business didn't go successfully. He joined a job. So please, 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 God, let me become successful in my job. That job didn't success. So in this way, he started praying to God, my dear God, at least, please make me win a lottery ticket. And 6 months, every day he's praying to God, oh God, please make me win a lottery ticket. On the last day of the 6 months, when he's standing in front of the deities in the temple, a paper falls from the sky in his hands. As he's praying like this, a paper falls. He opens the paper and says, at least go and purchase a lottery ticket, my dear friend. So some of us are like that. We say, oh God, you do this, you do this. But are we doing our part? So for him to win the lottery ticket, at least he has to go to the market and purchase the lottery ticket. Then God can help him. So in our lives also, my dear friends, we at least have to do our minimum part. And God is really such a broad-minded person. He's really such a well-wishing person. He wants to help us in all situations. So we need eyes of wisdom. When we have the eyes of wisdom, then we have maturity, and then we balance both sides. We are not karmavadis, we are not daivavadis. We are mature. We are situated in the middle. We balance both of these. So can anybody compare this with 3.27?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Translation, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. 3.27. Yeah. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature.
So this bewildered soul, he thinks he is the doer. सब कुछ मैं ही कर रहा हूँ. And Lord Krishna is calling him Moodha, is calling him a fool. Okay, somebody else, can you compare also with 16.14?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Probably it's 13, 14, 15, three of it.
Yeah,
So
so
the demonic
middle,
person thinks,
middle part, yeah.
yeah, the demonic person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more.
Who will decide this? When it will increase, I will decide. It is because अभी तक मैंने सब कुछ किया है. Yes, kindly go ahead.
Yeah, he is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything.
Yes. So it is about I. No space for God. And that this way, thank you, Mataji, for reading that section. So here, Krishna is in the 18th chapter telling us anything that happens, good or bad. Krishna spoke that. There are 5 components. Please do not miss out on your part, and also please do not miss out on God's part. So devotees are super active, devotees are super busy, devotees are super dedicated. At the end, they are humble and they say, my dear Krishna, if you wish, please make this effort successful. If you wish, if your desire is so. So out of these 5 factors, how many of them are dependent on the Supreme Lord? The place, is the place dependent on the Super Soul? Finally, this whole planet is made by the Supreme Lord. Doer is me, myself. I am myself the part of the Supreme Lord. So I am also dependent on Supreme Lord. The instruments, whatever we work with, whoever we are, engineer, doctor, whatever we are, finally, none of that was created by us. So in that sense, we are dependent on the Supreme Lord. What about the endeavor? The enthusiasm, is it our property or is it God's property?
Our property.
Yeah, so that desire to serve Krishna, that is our property. At this moment, you can switch off this class. You can log out from this class. Who will stop you? But if you wish, you can hang on and you can listen to this class. This is your personal decision. This is your personal enthusiasm to listen to Bhagavad Gita, to understand the Bhagavad Gita. But probably the phone or the iPad or the laptop on which you are listening to all this, it was given to you by somebody. You yourself are a part of the Supreme Lord. The place where you are sitting, as room, tomorrow somebody else can come and sit there. Maybe you are sitting on your child's study table. And after this class ends, you will go to the kitchen and your child will come and sit on the same study table to study. So everything else is dependent on the Super Soul. Everything else is dependent on the Supreme Lord, directly or indirectly. But one thing is our own property. My will, my desire, my enthusiasm, my readiness, my willingness, that is my own property. And that's why Krishna says, Karmani eva adhikaraste. Aapka adhikar keval aapke, in that endeavor is there. And what is bhakti actually? Bhakti, whatever you offer to Krishna is basically Krishna's property only. But what you actually offer in bhakti is your consciousness. What you offer in bhakti, the thing that you offer to Krishna is not important. What did Sudama bring for Krishna? Did Sudama bring gold for Krishna? No, Sudama brought some poha for Krishna. And we feel, अरे प्रभु जी पोहा कैसे लेके जा सकते हैं? अरे पोहा नहीं लेके जा सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर कोई व्यक्ति सोना लेके जाता है, वो सोना भी उसी का प्रॉपर्टी नहीं है. The poha, we feel poha is ordinary, but from Krishna's perspective, even gold is ordinary, because both poha and gold do not belong to you and me. When we were born in this world, we did not have poha also, and we did not have gold also. So from Krishna's perspective, poha and gold are equal. So he's saying, anyways, whether you offer me poha or whether you offer me gold, from my perspective, it is the same. Then what does matter? Your personal desire. I want to offer this, which is my most valuable possession, to Krishna. So for Sudama, the most valuable possession was not gold, because he did not have any gold. For Sudama, he did not have any poha even at his own home. So his wife went to neighboring homes and she brought some poha. So the most valuable thing that Sudama had was poha. And what did he offer to Krishna? Not poha. He offered to Krishna the most valuable possession that he had. So that willingness to offer the best thing that you have, your most prized attachment. At Tirupati, when you go, when you offer your hair, what is the value of that hair? Males, they go to a barber every month and they must be spending 100, 200 rupees or maybe 500 rupees. I don't know how much money they charge. But there is so much hair lying on the floor on the barber shop. And every month we go. But that same hair, when we go and give to Balaji, that becomes a devotional gift. अरे प्रभु जी, यहाँ पे तो काटने के लिए मुझे 200 रुपया देना पड़ता है, और तिरुपति में जाके मैं जब बाल देता हूँ तो वो भक्ति हो जाती है. कैसे? कैसे भक्ति होगी? Hair is so dear to us. We want to look good. We want to, use shampoos, and we want to use hair conditioner, and we want to do this and we want to do that. That valuable hair, the most attractive part of my body, my long, flowing, shiny, silky hair, that hair I'm offering to Krishna. And when I come home, I'm bald. And people say, क्या हो गया? टकला हो गया तू? No, टकला नहीं हुआ हूँ. मैं तो बहुत धनी हुआ हूँ. Because when I went to Balaji, I offered the most valuable part. So for Sudama, it was the most valuable part. For a super rich person like, the richest family in India, you know what I'm talking about. They may not offer poha to Krishna. They may offer something which is very valuable, but Krishna will put Sudama and the richest family in India at the same level. Why? What is possible for them, they are offering to Krishna. And what was possible for Sudama, he offered. And what about you and me? What should we offer? Should we offer poha? No, Prabhuji, that's too simple. Should we offer a gold? Prabhuji, we don't have so much gold to offer to Krishna. Okay, what do you think is the best thing in your life? What is the most valuable part of your life? Somebody can say, Prabhuji, time, मैंने ऐसा सुना था. Yeah. So time, I had heard that time is very valuable. Give your time to Krishna. Invest your time in reading Krishna's message. Invest your time in chanting his holy names. Invest your time in preaching the Bhagavad Gita to whomsoever you meet. At least one person in your life, you should be able to explain the Bhagavad Gita. So when you give your time to Krishna, when you give your most valuable, non-replenishable asset, है ना, पैसा खर्चा करते हैं तो पैसा कमा सकते हैं, हेल्थ खर्चा करते हैं तो हेल्थ भी धीरे 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 कमा सकते हैं, समय खर्च करते हैं तो कोई कमा नहीं सकता है. That's why anybody who preaches the Bhagavad Gita, anybody who sings Krishna's holy names, anybody who participates in Kirtan, somebody who comes to the temple and takes darshan of Krishna, he is spending the most valuable part of his life, like poha for Sudama, like gold for the Ambanis. But in our life, what is valuable? That you offer to Krishna. So that's why all we can do is endeavor. That is our personal property. This body was gifted to us. This intelligence was gifted to us. The place where we are born is gifted to us. The family in which we were born was gifted to us. None of these are our decisions. Our only decision is, with the wealth that I have, with the health that I have, with the facilities that are available to me, with the intelligence that I have, I am not going to waste them. I am going to utilize them in service of Krishna. This is your property. This is not dependent on the Supreme Lord. This is the only place where Lord Krishna will never force you. And that's why this is the last shloka for today. 18.17. No killing in spite of killing. Nasya yasya nahankrito bhavo buddhir yasya na lipyate hatva pisa ima loka nahanti na nibadhyate. One who is not motivated by false ego. Yasya na ahankrita. इसमें अहंकार की भावना नहीं है. No, Preeti Mataji was reading from the 16th chapter, and Preeti Mataji was reading, oh, so much wealth I have conquered and I will conquer more, and he is my enemy, he is my friend, I will kill him tomorrow. इतना अहंकार है. Aham, 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 aham. That's called ahamkar. So here he is, Krishna is saying, जिसमें अहंकार नहीं है. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill. Why is Krishna speaking this? Because Arjuna is standing on the battlefield. Krishna is thinking, आप क्या बोल रहे थे, मुझे पाप लगेगा. But if you don't have ahankar, that you are the doer, and if you see yourself as somebody who is being used by the Supreme Lord, then there is no ahankar, and because of no ahankar, there is no papa. So although you are killing people, you actually don't kill, nor is he bound by his actions. So two pictures on the screen. The commander of the army is telling the people, shoot. And he's saying, we have to attack. So the subordinates are obeying the superior's orders. So when the subordinates kill somebody, there is no papa. It is obedience of orders. Similarly, Karna is on the ground and Arjun wants to shoot. And Krishna says, shoot. And Arjun says, but he's on the ground. Is it not sinful to kill somebody on the ground? Krishna says, there is no sin in killing somebody who does not deserve to live. Shoot right now. And Arjun kills. So Arjun is killing people, but according to 18.17, Hatva pisa imal loka na hanti na nibadhyate. Such a person, although he kills people, he does not kill. So my dear Arjun, please understand, you are an instrument. I want this war to happen. Shoot right now. And Arjun, being an expert student of the Bhagavad Gita, he shot that arrow and killed off Karna, he cut off his head. And even though in one sense this is wrong, but Arjun is glorified today. There is an Arjun award for bravery by the government of India today, but there is no Karna award for charity in India today. So this is very interesting that people may understand, people may not understand, but Krishna will value you. Krishna will appreciate you if you follow the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll stop here and we'll end here. Just in case somebody has any questions, you can unmute and you can ask questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, like you had said that we should do our duty not in expectation of receiving anything, but for what we have already received. We have received so much if we just become aware of it and out of gratitude.
Yes.
Prabhuji, sometimes, I mean, in the course of duty, I mean, we like the basic, as I mean, I am on the bodily level, so the basic needs of sleep and food also don't get fulfilled, and the head is aching and the body is aching, and still how to go on it becomes very difficult. And Prabhuji, second thing is like endeavor. It depends on us, but like if we are in good association, if we are reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and if we are hearing, then we are more likely to make endeavors towards Lord Krishna. So it seems that endeavor is also dependent.
Right. So, we do accept the needs of our body. We do accept the needs of our mind. It's not that we have to be hungry to please Krishna. When you're hungry and you do something to please Krishna, it's not that Krishna gives you some special points. Oh, in spite of your hunger, you. No, we have to also plan for sustainability. We don't want to be comets who are visible in the sky for one day in 80 years. We want to be stars that keep shining in the sky, twinkle, 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 and maybe nobody even notes that they're shining, but they're shining. The moon, it gives a lot of light, but it gives a lot of light and then it decreases also. So on Amavasya day, there is no light. And on Purnima day, there is too much light.
Right.
So we don't want to be like the comet who comes once in 80 years and lights up the whole sky. We don't want to be like the moon who sometimes gives more and more light and then on its own decides to give decreasing light. So sometimes, we will serve Krishna. अरे ये भी करेंगे, वो भी करेंगे, वो भी करेंगे, वो भी करेंगे, ये भी करेंगे, वो भी करेंगे. फिर बीमार पड़ेंगे, फिर हॉस्पिटल में जाके एडमिट हो जाएंगे. That is like a comet. And then when we are in the association of devotees, then we are super enthusiastic. अरे प्रभु जी ऐसा करेंगे, वैसा करेंगे. Association जाने के बाद में वापस we are down. So that's like the moon. So we don't want to be like the moon. We don't want to be like the comet. We want to be like the stars. Does not matter whether it is Purnima. The stars don't say, oh, today it is Purnima. So there's already so much light in the sky. So why to twinkle today? Just keep quiet. No, they are doing their duty. Purnima ho, Amavasya ho, Ekadashi ho, Dwadashi ho. Whatever day of the month it is, they will keep giving their small light. On Amavasya, we feel it. On Amavasya, we appreciate it. But on Purnima, we don't note it. But they are giving their small light. They are doing their part.
Right.
So when somebody is like the star and he is giving off that small light, irrespective of whether it is Amavasya or Purnima, that person will be unfortunately not noted on Purnima. But when there is Amavasya, people will understand. अगर ये तारे नहीं होते आज अमावस्या के दिन तो हम तो पूरे घने अंधकार में होते. That is the misfortune of people who did not note the stars shining on Purnima. It is not the misfortune of the stars. It is the misfortune of people who did not note the stars on Purnima. So comet is once in 80 years. Purnima is once in 1 month. But the stars are always there. So that is called dutiful. Yes. And people who are dutiful, they may not be the stars in this world. People who are dutiful, like the stars of the sky, they may not become stars of this world. But they will be appreciated when there is darkness. When there is no other help available, it is these dutiful people who will keep doing it to become famous. They don't do it for appreciation. They don't do it for external cause. They will be appreciated when there is darkness. When there is no other help possible, it is at this time that you say, अरे चांद तो कहीं दिख नहीं रहा है, comet भी कहीं दिख नहीं रहा है, दिख नहीं, stars ऐसे थोड़ा थोड़ा light दे रहे हैं. I think this is good light for us to do our duties. So we have to plan for sustainability. We cannot go for waxing and waning, and we cannot go for once in 80 years. We have to plan. So take care of your health. Krishna has no deadlines. Plan for sustainable health on the physical level, plan for sustainable health on the mental level. In a sustainable way, serve Krishna. Serve Krishna till the last moment of your life, but with a smile on your face. Don't serve Krishna for 20 years of your life right now when you are a young boy, and then you fall sick, and on the hospital bed, you have a big frown on your face. Why did Krishna do this to me? I served him so nicely, but now I have a body which is not healthy. Why to have that kind of feeling for Krishna? Why don't we take care of ourselves right now, and under guidance, taking mature guidance, plan for a long-term life based on happy service to Krishna.
Right. Yeah. Just like the 18.9, 10, 11 have to be taken seriously. Similarly, Yuktahara, Viharasya also has to be taken seriously because both have been spoken for by Lord Krishna for the living entity's benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
No hurry, no
Yes, sir.
haste. Yes. Whatever is sustainable.
Yeah.
That is-
And Prabhuji,
that is-
what about that endeavor thing?
What endeavor?
Prabhuji, that endeavor seems to be dependent, Prabhuji. It seems to be dependent on association. It seems to be dependent on yeah.
It only means we are in the school right now.
Okay.
In a school, the students are well behaved only in the presence of the teacher. Typical school, yes. So teacher walks out of the class, hey, they start shouting, and as a teacher comes in,
Right.
so that's okay. That's okay. We are not teachers right now, but we are students. Let us be good students. At least in the presence of the teacher, we should behave properly.
Right.
If we are really, determined to spoil our lives, in the presence of the teacher also we'll misbehave. But the first sign of the gentleman is, at least in the presence of elders, at least in the presence of our teachers, we will behave properly. And then when we graduate from the school, when we become teachers, then we are not dependent on association. So the students are dependent on the association of the teachers, but the teachers are not dependent on the association of teachers. Right? So not that one teacher, when the teacher wants to teach something, is it that the teacher says, अरे आप टीचर हैं, आप भी मेरे साथ क्लासरूम में आई हैं, आप जब होते हैं तभी मैं सिखाऊंगी, ऐसा होता है क्या? So the teacher does not require association of another teacher to teach, but the student requires the association of the teacher to learn. So when we say, Prabhuji, I am still dependent on association of devotees, only thing it indicates is we are still students. So that's okay. It's not a crime to be a student. How can you be a teacher? How can you be a teacher tomorrow if you don't want to be a student today?
Yes.
This is an artificial thing. I won't be a student today, but I want to be a teacher today. Every teacher has been a student at one point of time. So only a good student can become a good teacher. So at least now when you are saying, Prabhuji, I think, all my positivity in Krishna consciousness is dependent on good association. When I'm in good association, then I feel very good. Take that association seriously. Take the association of your teacher seriously. If you're not taking the association of your teacher seriously, because you want to become a teacher yourself, you are neither a student nor a teacher. But if you take the association of your teacher seriously, you'll become a good student. And a good student tomorrow can become a good teacher.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we are not artificial and we are not idealistic. We are realistic and we say, yes, Baba, I am in first standard of the school. I am not a teacher. The teacher does not require the association of another teacher to teach, but the student requires the association of the teacher to learn. So I am a student, but I want to be a sincere student. I want to be a serious student. I want to take the association seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything wrong in people saying, that only in association I feel enthusiastic. I
Right.
think this is this is the beginning of the bridge. And on the other side of the bridge is, you may not require the association of devotees to be enthusiastic, but at least you have begun the journey on the bridge.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
So yeah, it's a healthy sign that at least in the association of devotees we are enthusiastic.
Hmm.
At least when we are surrounded by devotees, we are really geared up, we are really fired up. This is a positive sign.
Yes, yes, yes.
But slowly we go deeper into the science. We come close not only to the teachings of the teacher, but we also come close to the teacher.
Hmm.
If we just stick to coming close to the teachings of the teacher, we can advance to a certain level, to a certain extent. But when we come close not only to the teachings of the teacher, but also to the teacher, then we understand some things that cannot be taught in the class.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So then that is the second step in becoming a good teacher. You can become a good teacher not just by learning the teachings of the teacher, but also forming a close relationship with the teacher. Then he
Right.
tells you what are the challenges of being a teacher. Then he tells you what are the advantages of being a teacher. The challenges of being a teacher and the advantages of being a teacher cannot be spoken in a class to students, because not every student wants to become a teacher.
Hmm.
Some students want just to be good students, so that's good enough for them. But some students, they want to become a good teacher, and it is the duty of every teacher to teach the fine points of being a good teacher to a student who wants to be a good teacher.
Ah.
So those of us students who want to be a good teacher, they will have to spend time with a good teacher. The teachings of a teacher may not give the whole message about how to become a teacher. They will definitely make you a good student. And in your own way, you might become a good teacher tomorrow. So to become a good practitioner, you will have to spend quality time with a good practitioner.
Hmm.
Just by reading books, just by hearing classes, we may not become a good practitioner, because certain fine points are, they cannot be spoken in a general class.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why all of us should have at least one very good friend in our life. There is no way we can overemphasize the importance of one sincere devotee in our life. We definitely need the Gita in our life, but in addition to the Gita, we need one sincere devotee friend in our life. And just like Arjun, very successful, very powerful, but at the right time, he got completely confused. He has solved many problems in his life alone, but at the right time, he got confused. His fortune was he had Krishna with him, and he asked Krishna, and the product, the outcome is the Gita. Similarly, in our life also, we may be very intelligent, we may be very smart, we have decoded other people's lives problems.
Hmm.
We have helped so many people solve their problems, but when a problem comes in our life, the most intelligent people get completely confused. This is also one lesson to learn from the Gita. Your intelligence is a very good solution for others, but your own intelligence may not be a good solution for your own problems, because
Yeah.
it's your problem. Yeah, so when you are diseased, then the doctor does not treat himself or herself. The doctor basically goes to another doctor and says, you treat me. So successful people sometimes get imprisoned by their success, and they feel, because I'm successful, I can crack any problem. No, but actually, if you're successful, then you will understand that when I am in a problem, I can't decode it. I need to have one trustworthy person in my life. So contact that person, ask what is to be done, do it, and come out of that problem. That's why I said we use our intelligence to become successful, but when we become successful, we lose our intelligence. We don't utilize that intelligence to understand that finally, without God's blessings, without so many things that God has given me, where would I be today? That was the point.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all very much. See you next Thursday. Hare Krishna. जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, जय श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
Hare
हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you.
Thank you all. Hare Krishna.